Welcome to Optimal Health Weekly with your host, Steve Adams. This podcast is for highly driven professionals, CEOs, and entrepreneurs who know health is the first wealth. Join us each week for a mix of expert interviews and solo episodes on health topics relevant to your busy life. Let's elevate your health together.
Hello, Steve Adams here from Tiger Medical Institute, and this is the Tiger Optimal Health Podcast. And today I have a really interesting guest today, Jacqueline Pendleton. Jacqueline, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Steve. Really great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to read an introduction of Jacqueline so everybody understands who we're meeting today, and then we'll kind of get into the interview. Jacqueline's mission is to empower women to overcome their challenges, gain confidence, and enjoy the good things in life. She works with women 50 and beyond who have stress issues and autoimmune diseases. These might show up as menopause symptoms, but it's probably stress related. Her coaching programs include mindset, diet, and exercise that are tailored to each client's individual needs and goals. Jacqueline also specializes in blood chemistry analysis and food sensitivity solutions, which are key factors in regulating stress and inflammation. As a personal trainer with over 38 years experience in the health and fitness industry, and as a coach, she is passionate about providing specific and effective solutions that address the root causes of these issues and improve the quality of life for her clients. Her programs have been built from her own struggles and issues, so this is just not a theory to Jacqueline. She's been there and done that and truly has worked through struggles. This is why she is passionate about helping women in their 50s and beyond get control of themselves and their bodies and get back to working order. Her goal is to help you to feel better, to move better, and to look better. Jacqueline, welcome. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so it's kind of fun. Jacqueline lives in New Zealand, but she's actually coming to us today from the UK. Maybe Jacqueline, can you give the audience, first of all, a little bit personal about you? Maybe you can talk about your family, your kids, things like that. Let's just start there.
Okay, so I've been living in New Zealand for 34 years, and I have 4 Kiwi children, adult children. I don't have any grandkids, but I'm looking forward to them knocking out a few in the future, but I don't want them to rush into it. And so, yeah, I mean, I've pretty much built my program for my own issues, gained 15 kilos and a racing heart rate from stress, didn't have anything show up on a blood test. And so I just thought it was a middle-aged spread, I was told. So I'd already put weight on when I gained my children. I actually went up to a size 22. I always lovingly used to say to my clients, I took a day off, but I took a day off for like 7 years. So but I've really struggled, and then I got my body back and then burnt out for 2014-15, and so I pretty much had to write my own program from that.
Well, I share a similar story. I felt I didn't share with you, Jacqueline. I had an opportunity over 21 years to build a company and scale it. We had 800 employees in multiple states in the U.S. And the last 3 years, I was very, very depleted, would be a good overall catchphrase, and burnout. And same thing, my traditional doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you. I don't see anything in your labs. And then I met a naturopathic physician who found that he said I had like 35 things wrong with me. And so getting to those root causes. And so that's really what you do, right? Your work, you're not just diagnosing things, you're actually working on what's going on underneath.
Yeah, that's right. So I've always done what's called inner core work. So, what's called inner unit. So the inner core. So because I'd had 3 C-sections and a fractured tailbone, as you do, 1 delivery and 3 C-sections, I specialised in that. So I'd always done everything from the inside out. So with the blood chemistry and I do look at what's going on in the body. I do understand a lot about DNA. So I've done a lot with DNA Fit in the UK, certified with them, really understanding, and I understand, you know, how, even looking at people's genealogy and how their body works and how we're individuals. So yeah, my job really is to get the rust out of the chassis of the car. I always talk about having a tune-up, you know, so that then you can skip down the road, and you can make it around the supermarket. You know, you can play with your grandkids, you can do things that you enjoy doing, because being healthy and fit is a means to an end, isn't it? You know, it's about quality of life, really.
The body really does want to heal itself, that it can if you provide it the right inputs.
You've got to give it the right tools. Yeah, because I mean, sometimes, as I've seen a lot, you know, from my own issues with stress, is sometimes your body gets into that metabolic chaos. And so you've got to sort of give it the opportunity. And I mean, I do say, you know, I wish I could wave my magic wand and say, you will have that body. But there isn't a magic wand. I didn't have a magic wand. It's really about understanding what will work for them and solutions around that. And that's where the education comes in.
Right.
Rather than giving someone a piece of paper and say, here you go, skip down the road. So I'm always assessing, because if you're not assessing, you're pretty much guessing. So I've always been quite a technical trainer anyway. So I've always educated clients, even around what, you know, in regards to exercise, what to do and things like that, and understanding and listening to their own body. And it's almost like there's a complete mind shift. I feel like it's almost like they've gone from the dark side, you know, the force, to the other side. You know, it's like, oh, you know, they're starting to listen. So I do think with your body, it's about giving the tools and then using it as a tool so it starts to work for you. Obviously, we can't slow down the aging process. It's not like, you know, death becomes there where we can inject ourselves and be, you know, like the mad scientist.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you so you have a background in personal training, and you've gotten a bunch of certifications in how to analyze blood and genetics, but you also have had, you told me before we got on, 38 years of coaching experience. Tell me how that's critical. I know how it is, but I want my audience to hear, how is that critical to actually helping the client of yours get real change?
I think the thing is that when it comes to coaching, and I mean, I've always been a coach, not a trainer, and it's a two-way street. And it's really about listening to that person and them understanding what will work for them. So I think that's where coaching, and I mean, I've worked from, you know, working with athletes in New Zealand, you know, representing New Zealand right up to the normal people, you know, they're not, right? So it's, I think coaching, you know, experience comes with lots of different things. And because, you know, we'll actually be coming up 62 in January. I can't believe where the time went. But, you know, it's really about, you've got to have experienced it. You've actually got to have experienced it and understand what goes on with the body. And I think just with coaching is really about working out together what will work for you. And then that feedback, you know, I can't read their mind. So that's why I'm constantly asking for feedback and strategies, doing 1 or 2 things and then implement them each week rather than do this, do that doesn't work, you know. So it's really, that's what coaching to me is. It's really about working as a partnership, and that's how you coach people. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you have to unlock a person's intrinsic motivation. They
Yeah.
have to want it from within, but a good coach can help unlock that inner, like those core values drivers that they have, you know, in their why, like having a strong why, you know. And I don't know, you know, I guess before I go on further with that line of thinking, talk to us about who your ideal client is that you work with the most.
So mainly I've worked with business owners, business professionals. Usually they've had children, you know, they've got grandchildren, and they've turned into the circus performer of running back and forth, spinning plates, but, and they feel like they can't get out of bed. They feel exhausted. They don't understand what's going on. They don't actually, they've probably got to 50 and they've gone, I wonder what's going on. There's just, and they can't seem to work it out what it is. And they just, however much sleep they have, they can't seem to be able to get out of bed. And this was me. I was just constantly exhausted. And so what they do is they hammer even harder. And they're usually really high performers, and I have worked with some politicians as well, where they're high achievers, high performers, and they just want, they want everything just to go 100%. But usually those types of people, you can really get the best out of them, because they are driven, but they're not used to really putting themselves first, so it's really about doing that. So, it's just sort of looking at all of those elements, really.
I know for me, when I was 50, so I'm 60 myself, and when I actually quit my company when I was 53 and sold it because I needed to get an answer. My father at that point had 8 or 9 heart attacks. He's still alive, amazingly. He lost his dad and his 2 brothers before the age of 62 to heart attacks. And so here I am at 53, I'm having chest pains. I'm going in, getting stress tests, and I'm 6'3" and 180 pounds. I'm skinny. I'm not the classic guy that would have a heart attack, right? But I was really concerned and I wasn't getting answers. And it's the same thing. I wasn't sleeping well. I was anxious. I had a lot of acid reflux. I had no energy. I had pain all over my body. And I found that as a common story. And I didn't take care of myself. I made sure my kids were good. My wife was good. All my employees were good. The investors were good. The bank was good. Right. And I felt like I was, the metaphor I used was, I felt like I was sliding down a railroad, like down the rail line on my feet, and the rail line was getting wider and wider, and I was just trying to hang on. And I still, I was running a large company and having to work 3 times as hard to get the same results. And I knew something had to change. And I think that's what I'm hearing you say, is that people, the reason it happens in your 50s is by that time you've done enough damage to the body. You have adrenal fatigue, you have stuff is starting to show up that didn't show up in the past. But the good news, and this is my whole point in bringing this up, is when people work with someone like you, you can actually reverse that. And I will tell you today, like, I'm 60 now and I have no pain. I have a lot of energy. I sleep really well, and I have very, very low risk of a heart attack because I've actually gone through the screening and have no blockage. It was actually the reflux that was causing all of the chest pains. And so that's what's possible. And that's what you want people to know, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing is actually, and good on you, because really, you know what? It's usually the men that get left behind.
Yeah.
Because usually the women gain weight and they do something about it. Although I've seen people who have lost weight, because I've come across lupus quite a bit, fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, Cushing, I haven't worked with Addison's, I haven't worked with Cushing's. I've worked a little bit with Parkinson's disease, which you've got to be a bit careful with the medication, with the protein interacting with the neurotransmitters. But I've worked a lot with fibromyalgia, literally by default, fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, lupus, Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, and I've had quite a lot of success with that. But yeah, I mean, as you said, you're running a company and you just, you're running, I feel like it's almost like the slippery, slidey slope, and I think people do ignore it, really, especially if they're high achievers. And then, it's like, hello, your body's knocking on the door saying, right, I'm going to show you now. All right, I'm going to show you now. So, yeah, I think it is really about reversing that, because you can get your body working for you as a tool.
Yes. So tell us about your process. So if somebody's listening and they're interested in knowing more, we'll get to how to get a hold of you in a minute, but Talk about your process. Just a quick sidebar. Did you ever get a chance to work with an all black?
No,
Oh, okay.
I did.
That's
Well,
such a
I
cool
have
thing.
actually. Well, I mean, hopefully you're not going to put this bit up, but I mean, I've been below the beehive in Wellington. So that was working with a politician there, although I was doing skin folds back then. So try getting them through the X-ray machines.
Tell us about your process if you're working
So
with a.
basically, with my process, when I onboard somebody, I have quite a big pre-screen.
Yep.
So I get them to fill in lots of different forms, including all of the reports. I've worked quite closely also with chiropractors, osteos, physiotherapists. So just also looking at structural, have they had the cancer, have they had any tumours removed, things like that. So it's really because the more information I have, the better I can help them. And then as part of that, I look at the blood chemistry, really looking for different factors. Have they got an autoimmune response from that? But what I do is I do it really slowly. So first of all, we do look at the nutrition. So we attack it from the nutritional side, but I try and do it slow because if they're already under a lot of stress, and generally I find that if, say, for instance, a woman like that, they've gained weight, and people think somebody's put a whole load of weight on and they're eating loads and loads of food, when it's usually the complete opposite. They're not
Right.
eating enough food. So this is really about fueling their body. And I say to them, look, you won't drive down the road and not put any petrol in your car. So
Right.
why would you do that to your body? So it's about understanding and learning. And then as part of that, I use FOD mapping. So removal of certain foods, starting with 1 or 2 foods. I can see how much inflammation and things like that. And then we just really start to do it slowly, tracking what their sleep's like, their energy levels, etc. So
Yep.
it's really about habits, creating habits, so that then they learn what will work for them. So we just do check-ins all the time, and then we just move through the program. So, and obviously seeing if their energy levels are going up, is their sleep improving, and if not, why not? And that's
Yeah.
why you've got to assess, because if it's not working, why not? And so this is where the education, because when they first come in, they come in with a hiss and a roar, I'm so motivated and da 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 da. And it's really about them taking responsibility and understanding what will work for them, because then they're more motivated to keep moving forward, and understanding it is a process and it's a journey.
Yep. You have to get it. You have to get them to buy in, to trust the process, and
That's right.
you're not going to microwave results. You got here over
No,
30 years. You're not going to change in 3 days. Make
no.
sure they're set with that, and then get them some small wins, starting small, because
Small wins, yeah.
they won't comply if you throw everything at them up front. And so I like that, because if you're doing blood work and you improve their nutrition, Dr. McNamee, one of our lead doctors, says that food is either medicine or it's poison. And
Yeah.
that really helps our clients understand, like, are you giving it good medicine or are you poisoning it? And, then start helping them learn, like, that bag of chips, that's poison. That processed meat, poison.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
right. And so, and your body starts feeling better. I know for me, recently I had to drive from Michigan to Texas, and I can't eat gluten, and you can't eat anywhere along the interstate. It's very difficult to find food that doesn't have gluten in it, because it's all junk food. And unfortunately, in America, it's very homogenous. If you stop at an exit on the freeway, it could be anywhere in the US. You can tell no difference. They all look the same. So all the restaurants are the same. And so I got some food that was processed but didn't have gluten. But by the time I got home, I was sick, because my body, I've eaten so clean for 5 years that it just utterly rejects
It
anything.
hates it, yeah.
Yeah, it just tells me right away, I do not want this crap, and I'm going to make you feel bad for doing it, and so it's the pain that reminds me. So I really like that process. What do you?
I mean, I'm actually lactose intolerant. I don't produce. So via a DNA test through DNA Fit, I found out I was lactose intolerant. And
Yep.
quite often that can be in your DNA, but stress can also increase that. And I've had a food sensitivity test done via a blood test. We tend not to use it now. So I'm a practitioner with Kaiser Institute of Health in Australia. But you know, we generally, that's why we tend to use FOD mapping, because quite often technology will move, although I'm always looking for different things. But I don't produce the enzyme lactase. So if I, you know, because quite often you'll go out and have an ice cream, comes up to Christmas time, you know, coming up to the silly
Yes.
season, you know,
Yep,
and I
yep.
could probably gain 5 kilos over a couple of days, you know. So sometimes the food you're eating, and I mean, I had a problem also with spinach.
Uh-huh.
So it's just, you never know. And this is, but with the food
Right.
removal, because the body's already under stress and it can't differentiate between emotional, physical, and dietary to see it as one,
Yep.
it's really, that's why I tend to do it slowly and really so the person learns. But usually the lactose and the gluten are usually the biggest things. But like you say, you know, when you're trying, I mean, I've been on cruises and said I'm lactose intolerant and they've brought me a salad with nothing on it. I'm like, I'm not salad intolerant, I'm lactose intolerant.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Do you see a lot of people? I don't know if you get into this because it can be a little more specialized, but do you get into gut health? Because our
Yeah,
doctors say 90% of Americans that they work with have leaky gut, which what it means is that the mucosa from your throat all the way
yeah,
to the
mucosal barrier has
yes,
been broken. Yeah,
broken. Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
gluten is a major cause of that because it has a protein in it called zonulin, and
yeah,
that zonulin breaks down these things called tight junctions in the mucosa, so it
yeah,
automatically perforates it. And now what's happening is you have things getting out into the bloodstream that should be contained inside the mucosa, and that
yeah,
starts to catalyze things like autoimmune and
that's right.
inflammation and things like that, because now your immune system is having to basically fire a machine gun in every direction in your body because it's
To
having to
try and get
fire.
rid of it. Yeah,
Right. And so it's not differentiating very well. And so that's
no,
what's
it's not.
causing autoimmune. And what's really interesting, people think autoimmune is a lifetime sentence, and it's not. Like you can actually
No,
reverse
no. And that's the thing, yeah. So I've worked a lot with that with IBS. I've worked with people with Crohn's disease. Yeah.
it.
So that's one of the things. And that's why I take it extremely careful with the
Yeah.
guts, if especially if the food has passed, you know, passed through. So it is really about working on that, but really having a removal and then doing a repair so that then
Correct.
it starts to work better. So I've done all of that. I've gone through that myself. As I said, I pretty much built it from my own issue.
Yeah,
So
right. That's the
yeah,
best way.
you know,
That's the best way. What do you do? So sometimes, I have to date sold every single person that's coming into our program in the last 5 years. And one of the common fears they have is I won't complete the process. I know I want to do this, but I won't complete it. And I'm sure you hear the same thing. What are some tools you use in coaching to help people overcome that fear?
it comes back through to that education and then making sure that we're reviewing every single week what's going on. So when we do the check-in, they're asked the questions. And I always did this actually because I had people work with me in person for over 13 years of the 16 years.
Wow.
So I had quite good retention. So,
Yes.
you know, but it's really about that education and understanding why they're doing it, you know, why they're doing it. And so when we do the check-ins, yeah, and I said I used to do this in person where, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? You know, things like that. And so when they do the check-ins, you know, how are you feeling? How's that going? How's this going? And I also get them to create a journal so that then they start to journal how they're feeling and then they take it on board. You know, they actually take it on board. So then it goes from motivation to taking responsibility. And that's when they start seeing that consistency. They're a lot more consistent. But it's also understanding that this is your life. You know, it can be a little bit like that and then up like that, like a roller coaster. And then they start to even out. It's a process, it's a journey. So I think a lot of people think, you know, they've tried so many things and they think, oh, you know, I'm not going to succeed because da, 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 da. And this is where they learn as they go. You know what I mean? They learn as they go, even about the food, so that then I give them the tools and then they can just run with it,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I do.
So and that's why I don't do food plans or anything like that. They actually learn what to eat. You know what I mean? So that then, and they're like, oh, I can't believe it, I've lost this weight. And it's like, funny thing that, isn't it? You know, so rather than they might do something like that and then they don't know where to go from there. So this is where the education comes in and understanding what will work for them. And also that empowerment of understanding that it's okay. You're going to have a bad day, you know,
Yeah.
this is your life. Things are going to step in, right? You know, so it's really more like that. It's really just understanding that it is a process and you don't just wake up one morning and say, oh, I mean, obviously, depending on if somebody's got an autoimmune disease, they might already be on a medication and things, because I've worked with people who are on medication and have successfully managed to get them off that medication.
Yep.
But you know, you don't just wake up morning just like me, like, oh, I can't believe I gained all this weight. And it was a process. It was a
Right.
process. And so therefore you've got to give your body the opportunity to take the brakes off and say, I'm okay, I can come out now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
That's
most of the people you work with are successful people, and they have figured out how to do that in some domain of life. They've done something hard over many years and been successful. And we just always have, and with our coaching and work with people, we always just remind them that you've already done this in other realms. Like you've parented successfully.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You built a business or you built this great career. Just take the same mindset and skills you had there and apply it to yourself and embrace the idea of, we call it becoming patient number one, really embracing self-care. And as a, because what we say is when you're 50 or 60, you're really good at what you do now. You're really good at it. You've got 30 years of experience you can build off. The thing that is going to take you off the chessboard is your health. And if you will embrace this new lifestyle that we're coaching you in, now you're going to be able to sustain success in a way that is going to serve you much better for another 10 or 20 years. Because the way you're doing it now is not sustainable. You can't be exhausted when you get out of bed every morning and continue to be at a high level for 20 more years. You can't do it. And I couldn't, you couldn't. That's why we made these changes. And we're just crazy people went out and started our own businesses to help people with this.
Yeah.
I
think the thing is also, and what I see is with the women that I work with, is they're just consistently guilty. You know, they're guilty to putting, because, I said I'd look after the grandkids and I said I would do this and I said I would do that. And I'm like, well, if you don't look after yourself, and I mean, like you're saying about having children, you don't get a script, you have the baby, it's like, what will I do now?
Right.
You know, so they had to go and learn. And so therefore they've got to go and learn to be able to get the body that they want and get it functioning correctly. Right? You know, it's through getting a vibrant and functional body. That's what I do. I help them, give that service to their car, if you like, I don't know what you call it in the States, but in the UK, you take your car in for an MOT and you get the insurance on it so that then it, you can drive down the road and it doesn't fall to pieces. Same as your body. You've got to make sure that you're looking after it, and taking responsibility. They've got the skills and they say, oh, I sort of knew that, but it's just really empowering them to say, well, you do know, but this is what we're doing. We're going through this process, but and being able to put themselves first and say, I am important. I'm a really important person. I'm the one that I need to be healthy to be able to be around for my kids and my grandkids and have a healthy life and, not spend my life on medication or whatever. You know what I mean?
I do. Oh, this is really great. So, Jackie, how does someone get a hold of you? And so our editor and team behind me will make sure this gets in the show notes very clearly for people. So how do they get a hold of you if they want to talk to you?
So I've got a link on Linktree where they can actually get hold of me, make a time to come and have a 45-minute assessment. So like a health check where I actually go through, I do have a questionnaire on there where I can ask some questions about different things because it gives me a bit of it gives me an idea of what they what's going on with them, as going back to that assessing, I can't really diagnose if I don't know what's going on. Same as if I was giving somebody any form of program, I need to diagnose before I can actually prescribe something to them. So so on there I have a 45-minute session, a coaching session where I go through, find out about them. I have a questionnaire with that, and it's a tune-up, like having your car tuned up. It's a tune-up, understanding how to be tuned up so that they can fire on all cylinders.
Is this free?
Okay. Sorry?
Is this initial 45-minute session?
Yes, it's free session. Yeah, wow. It's free session.
Huge. That's huge value. Yeah. What you do, Jackie, is in the messaging app that we communicated to sign you up for the podcast, just send a link there, and then I will make sure it's in the show notes for people. So that'll work. We'll do that, and we'll share that and make sure people have access to it. Is there any kind of last thing you'd like to say to the audience to try to maybe encourage someone to take action somehow?
I think the thing is, but I would say, especially, when you've got to 50, you've probably tried everything known to man, sort of thing. And it's hard because you're just hoping that you're going to find something that'll work for you. Mm-hmm. I do have a proven method. I've proven it over working with hundreds of women, but I've individualized it to them so that they understand what's going on. And I've pretty much wrote it for my own issues. So I'm not speaking from theory, but it's really, if you don't do something about it now, you don't want to wait until the last, until it's too late. And so a lot of people don't realize how stress affects their body that much until they start to go through it, and understand it. And obviously I have education around how stress affects you and from the neurotransmitters and how that affects their body, and understanding what happens when they hit menopause and how, it creates a bit of a catalyst, really. So, I think it's just, you've got to take the first step and understand that. And that's why when I do this health check, I go through that to really see if I can help you, because I don't really work with anyone unless I know I can actually help them out. Because I really love what I do. I'm really passionate about what I do. And I want to help as many people as women 50 and beyond, just take control of their own body so that then they do feel good. They can bounce out of bed and they don't have the nothing to wear label in their wardrobe, because nothing fits. Right, and feel confident. And I think, talking to you, Steve, it's good to have people like ourselves, I feel, forging the way and saying, there is an alternative way.
There truly is. And I hear it in your voice. You care about people and want to help them.
I really do care about people. I love people.
Yeah, that's why you have that process. And I'll tell you, that's a very valuable offer for to get somebody with 38 years experience coaching people for 45 minutes without an investment other than your time is something I think people should take you up on. So I hope they do. And we will make sure that link is in the show notes so that people get that. So thank you, Jacqueline, for being on the podcast today.
It's been great. I've been really, really enjoyed talking to someone like yourself. It's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Steve Adams here from Tiger Medical Institute talking about the True Health Assessment. What if you could safeguard not just your health, but the well-being of your entire family? With the True Health Assessment from Tiger Medical, you can. Our comprehensive blood screening identifies hidden risks before they become major issues. Our elite team of Mayo Clinic trained and naturopathic physicians then create a customized plan to optimize your health for years to come. When you prioritize your wellness, you ensure you can be fully present for the people you love most. Don't let preventable issues cut that time short. For less than the cost of a daily latte, you can gain peace of mind and a clear path to sustained vitality. Protect your future and your family's future with True Health Assessment from Tiger Medical at thetruehealthassessment.com. Again, that's at thetruehealthassessment.com.